All righty. It's good to see everybody. I think I'm a few minutes early to this live session, but I guess that means we can get some more questions in. I just wanted to start by saying a big thank you to all of our users. So everybody, for supporting Fellow along the way. Thank you for continuously giving us suggestions and ideas that you can do right within the platform. We take this stuff super seriously. Every 2 months, when we think about what we're building for the next 2 months, we're always looking at the list of suggestions and we're thinking like, what can we prioritize? So the reason I mentioned that is obviously we're super excited about this whole AI in your meeting space. Again, we think it's the largest surface area that exists in your company. And if we can be the company that helps you make that surface area smaller, but also a lot more efficient, and if we can do that using AI, then I think that's a major way that we can add value. So we're obviously very excited for that. But the thing I wanted to say is this is definitely just the beginning, right? So for this particular launch, we had to do a lot of things, build a lot of infrastructure to make the sort of things that we're going to be releasing in the future possible. So the creation of the Fellow bot, the ability for it to join your meetings and do some of the basic stuff that I think over the course of time is going to be table stakes. Those things are now available in Fellow. But the bigger thing I'm excited about is all of the things that I've seen a preview of that we haven't necessarily shown today that Fellow bot is going to be able to do in your meetings, and it's really astonishing stuff. We just finished doing this hackathon, brought the whole company to one location, and it was an AI hackathon. We built so many really, really cool things. And it's just like, you're going to love what you're all going to see. So let's talk about, a bunch of the questions that were asked today. Again, in the live chat, feel free to add some things in there, and, I can respond live here too. But let's start with the biggest question, which is, how do we get access to this? Like, this is awesome. How do we get access to the Fellow Meeting Assistant? How do we get access to the AI agendas and everything else? So all of this stuff is technically live right now, and we are slowly rolling it out. They're behind feature flags. And so we are very slowly reaching out to some customers and asking them if they want to be amongst the first to test this stuff out. Obviously, a lot of these things are all in beta, so we're just getting started and want to make sure that before we roll it out to everybody, that we've had an opportunity to fine-tune things. So if you're okay with trying some beta features and helping us, test some of the things and giving us feedback, just join our AI waitlist. But also, if you tweet about us, that's it, or post about us on LinkedIn, that's another thing that we're all looking at to see who we can give access to. So very, very excited about that. Okay, so let's go through some of the other questions. One was does this work only for Zoom? So this works on all video platforms: Zoom, MS Teams, and Google Meet. So all three of those, this will easily work for that. And the other question was around security. So someone asked, is this SOC 2 compliant? So at Fellow, obviously, we take security very seriously. We are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We have a lot of large, publicly traded companies as customers. And so, Fellow is SOC 2, and the way that we work with all of our vendors and the way that we process data hasn't changed. And so all the same standards are applied, and we continue to be a SOC 2 product. There was another question around editing transcripts. Can you edit transcripts? Again, this is version 1. And so for version 1, you can't edit the transcripts. But, this is a great feature suggestion. And if you can, through our support, if you click on the intercom bubble, and you give us some of those feature suggestions and start upvoting those things, that's how we prioritize. And that's, if editing transcripts is important to you, please make sure to suggest that. And then, obviously we will go ahead and, prioritize that particular feature. There's another question around, how long do recordings last? At present time, again, this is a beta feature. So there's the way that this stuff works now. And, as time progresses, things may change because we're operating at a very large scale. But at present time, there's no limit to how long the recordings last, right? That may change over the course of time, but at present time, our goal is to keep these things. I think one of the things that you saw a little bit of today, which was really exciting, was the suggested topics, that Fellow.bot had. And again, like, there's a lot of power that comes from Fellow.bot having the context of those meetings over a long period of time. And again, if you had this chief of staff that followed you everywhere you went, listened to what you said, took notes for you, and was there live and could give you suggestions based on things that you've discussed in the past, I mean, that's really powerful, right? You're going through a meeting, and then your meeting assistant can say, hey, like, you should probably really talk about this thing that you mentioned 3 weeks ago, and it's probably time to follow up on that particular thing. I think that's super powerful. All of us are forgetful by nature, but if Fellow.bot can help all of us operate at a higher level and make all of our meetings or interactions or relationships better, if I can go into a one-on-one and be reminded to talk about, one of my direct reports, their kid, recently had a dental surgery, for example, or something like that, or just won a soccer game, and I can ask about that and follow up on that a month from now. Previously it would require me to be super organized, but hopefully, the Fellow meeting assistant can help keep you organized, so you can just be on top of your game for all the relationships that you have. That's kind of like the vision that we're operating under. So the Fellow.bot is going to allow us to do a lot more. And so these suggested topics are going to continuously get better. And there's a lot of feedback loops in the product. So what will happen is as you start using these within the product, Fellow.bot or suggestions and everything else will continue to get better. So, that's some stuff that I wanted to mention. Let me take a look at some of the questions here. Is that a Fellow office in the background? It is a designated Fellow office, but yeah, there's a pool table. You can see Fellow offices are pretty cool, and we have some nice things. Thank you, Susan, for the question. Randall asking if there's a price to pay so we can move to the top of the wait list. That's a great question, and maybe we should let you at the top of the wait list because of your funny question. Laura, great to see you. And let's see, what other things will the AI features be available on the apps as well? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Haseet. Maybe you can clarify, what that means. The other question was from Brian. How does transcription and summarization deal with meeting attendees whose words overlap with those of other attendees? I mean, so this is a great question, right? So this stuff will continue to, get better over the course of time. This is our first attempt at the transcription. And so it may not be perfect from the get-go, but it is quite good, right? Like we want it to be good enough that you can actually not go to a meeting and then be able to read the summary and the transcript. But the other important thing is if something doesn't sound quite right, we made it so that you can click on that part of the transcript and then, see that part of the video too. So it's the transcript plus the video together, I think, are going to bring the holistic experience. There's another question. Thank you, Laura, for clarifying the desktop versus apps question. So obviously, like, this is, across everywhere. Actually, if you have our Google Meet extension, it's going to be right at the top, and you can click on the record button right through there. It's actually easier in Google Meet. In Zoom, you have to have, Fellow open and use it there. So if you do use Google Meet, get the Google Meet extension. That's going to help a lot. One thing I did want to mention, this is actually a question that was not asked, and I was kind of surprised that nobody asked it, or maybe they did, and I just didn't see it. But the other question is action items, right? And so obviously Fellow.bot today is transcribing and summarizing meetings, and a lot of action item taking today is manual within Fellow. And I think that there will always be a place for manual action item tracking, note taking, and those sorts of things. And I think all these things together bring a holistic meeting experience. And so one of the things that we will look at, of course, is to see how Fellow.bot and the Fellow meeting assistant can basically, help suggest action items that you may want to record to supplement what is already being done on a manual basis. I mean, some meetings are hard, right? Like even with the human in the loop, sometimes it's hard to figure out exactly what the action items were. So we'll probably take the approach of, hey, this is a suggested action item from the meeting, and then allow for there to be some human intervention there. So yeah, but the other thing, let's see, what other question? Yeah, so how will the pricing structure be? So this is really interesting on the pricing structure. So we are currently we're modeling some ways to basically bring the pricing. I think the first version of this is Fellow will basically subsidize a lot of this activity, and get especially a lot of our early clients access to all the AI features. But unlike other things that we've done at Fellow, AI features obviously do have a cost, like a direct cost to us. We're using some vendors, for example, including OpenAI, creator of ChatGPT, and we may use other vendors in the future. So some of these things do have direct costs, and so we will have to figure out a pricing model on top of that. The way that we're thinking about it is that it might be an add-on that you add, to your current plans. We don't want to force anyone to get these things, but the way we're thinking about it is that it's an add-on, and once you have the add-on, you get access to these features. And so that's a way that we're thinking about it. It is early, but this is why the early access list, we're going to work with users who are part of that early access list, and figure out the right model. And again, like in the beginning, I think our goal is just to bring these features to you, and Fellow will subsidize a lot of these costs, and over the course of time, we hope to make that up so that we're no longer doing that. And Stephen, I would love for it to be free. We are working on stuff, for it to be more free over the course of time. I think there's a lot of great, open source models that are developing. And so, our goal is obviously to try and reduce the cost as much as possible so we can give it to more people. Again, if we can bring these features at a lower cost to more people, more meetings will be effective. And, that makes us, super happy. Yeah. So there is a comment around HIPAA. So we are not officially, like Fellow as a company is not officially HIPAA compliant, right? We are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. But the way that companies who have, there are companies and a bunch of our customers that operate in the medical space or in the healthcare space. And those that are HIPAA compliant, the way that they've typically done things is to not record, patient information inside of Fellow, and so that's the way that they have approached things. Again, so if this becomes something that is very important, and HIPAA compliance directly becomes very important, obviously these are things that we can visit. But for the first iteration, Fellow's stance is still SOC 2 Type 2. And that's basically the level of compliance that we have today. But happy to work with people who want to see us do more, and definitely can go down other paths too. So yeah, I mean, I think that is, yeah. So I think this is this brings us to the end of the questions. There is one question around languages, which is is this only English? At present time, it is only English in terms of the transcribing. We can do those other things, those other languages, and we will add those to the mix. But for this first version that we're launching with, it happens to be in English only. So as a starting point. But yeah, so we like to end meetings early at Fellow, so I'm going to try and end this Q&A a little bit early. Just wanted to say thank you again to everybody here. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you to everybody in the Fellow team, all our engineers, designers, marketers, customer support folks, the entire organization. Obviously, it takes a lot of work, and everybody's involved to make these launches happen. And we can't wait to get these features into your hands. And would love to get your feedback. And we're going to be iterating on this stuff super rapidly, right? So AI just inserted itself into a core pillar of what Fellow will build from now until forever. And yeah, we're excited for the future of what the Fellow meeting assistant can do for you. And this is probably like 10% of the ideas that we have on this. So stay tuned for a lot of other exciting stuff. Thank you all again, and enjoy the rest of your day.